right, we'll be back from the break. And this is Business Today. I'm still Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Buyinza Nakauchi on sign language. And speaking of which, as we look at Uganda's independence journey, 1962, 9th of October, is when Uganda got her independence from the British colony. At the time, the late Queen Elizabeth II was still the leader of the Commonwealth Heads of Nations. Speaking of which, she had only ruled for a couple of years when Uganda got independence. But what we are going to focus more on in our coffee court tonight is basically media. Speaking of media, what we are doing here is sensitizing, disseminating information, and of course, we belong to a segment of mass media. That is visual communication, and we definitely give out stories and give you all that matters to do with business as Smart 24. Well, this time around, we look at the evolution of media since 1962. From a time when we had the Uganda television, UTV, at a time where our grandparents would tell us that TV would even log off or close at 6 p.m. in the evening. How true was that tale though? But how were people telling stories in media, be it print media, radio or television? The journey has grown bigger, and now we even have Uganda's first ever business station in Smart 24 TV. How about that? And then you can definitely feel that the journey has been tremendous and worth looking back at. Monica Nabionga brings you more of this discussion in the Coffee Court tonight.
Welcome to the Coffee Court. This is Smart 24 TV and my name is Monica Nabionga. We are on Go TV channel 394 and as well as DSTV channel 372. On Smart 24 TV, we usually talk business matters because our niche is driving business. And today we are having a veteran journalist, Haj Abdul Nsereko. Haj, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome to Smart 24 TV, Haj.
Thank you.
Yes, today I've told you we are having a veteran journalist and we are going to be talking about the journey of media since 1962 when Uganda got her independence up to date. Just a reminder, Uganda got her first radio station, radio. That was in 1954. And then the TV came just 1 year after independence, that was 1963. But before then, we had newspapers, print media.
Yeah.
How has been the journey, Haj?
Well, thank you very much for accepting to host me on your television station. And I beg to thank everybody concerned for the decision, because although also being picked on by some of you, I think was another challenge, either to yourself or to myself. Okay. But all in all, I thank the Almighty God for life and for, of course, whatever that has been going through, that we have gone through. Media, before independence, that's the thing. You want media before independence. Or media.
Yes, you can even take a brief background before independence.
The background, yes. Okay, media before independence, of course, when the colonizers, the colonialists, as we usually call them,
yes,
came to our country in those early ages. Of course, later on they decided that we should have some kind of a trend or an avenue of whether they would be passing information to the public. So the idea of media, as now it is being termed these days, or mass communication as we used to call it at that time, began of course with government. Government had their media that is in Uganda. They had the Uganda Argus, and of course the
Uganda Argus. That was a newspaper, right?
That was a newspaper,
okay.
Yes. Then in the public sector, We had the newspapers like the Muno for the Catholic Church.
Muno, was it in Luganda?
Yeah,
Oh.
that is, you know. Yeah, they centered mostly in Uganda, apart from the British or the colonials for that matter, because of course the colonials knew English. That was their language, and the only way they would communicate into the public at that time was English through translation in case that thing arose. But the need arose to translate what they were saying. So what they did, they started with Uganda Agas, as I said, for government, and for the public, Taifa Mpya, and of course, Muno, as I said earlier on, Uganda Yogera. Uganda Yogera was another version of Taifa Mpya in a different form. Uganda Post, Uganda Pilot, Agafe Mbuga, whatever it is. So, and those newspapers were many. There were many. There were very many, and they were in local languages, and they had a very, very big influence on the population. What I want to commend the people of Uganda is that they wanted to read. They always wanted to know. They were always seeking for
Meaning
information.
people of those days had a reading culture, not like these days, because these days actually people don't want to read. And whenever you want to hide anything good, just put it in a book.
If they were not having the reading culture, they were having the listening culture.
Oh.
Because what you should remember is that Uganda was coming from the infancy stage to what we call a modern stage. And if that was the case, that was the era. As the babies, when you have the babies, they start by crawling, and then later on stand up. Okay. Then, of course, they start walking and then running. So that's what happened with the newspapers also, or with the news media. With the books were not in great numbers for them to read. And by the way, which books were they supposed to read? The books were those books in local languages or in foreign languages? And if they were in foreign languages, did they know the foreign language? They didn't. And those who knew the foreign languages were very, very few, very, very few. And of course, sitting down and reading maybe any novel or whatever book, and then somebody else translates, was also another great task, isn't it? Okay. So that was the problem that we had at times. Okay, but all in all, we say we had local newspapers or local media and foreign media. Foreign media to mean publication in English or in other languages, but I doubt whether we had Hindi. I doubt whether we had a newspaper in India at that time. So that was the thing. So we come to 1955 or 54.
Yes.
Then there was that crisis. There was a crisis, political crisis in Uganda. And Bazungu thought that the only way they could counter the information that was prevalent through the local newspapers or the local media was to come up with electronic media. And that was radio now beginning. So they start what we call Uganda Broadcasting Service, which is these days you call UBC. UBC has been changing names. Sometimes then it was called Uganda Broadcasting Service. Then soon after independence, on the 9th of October, it was named Radio Uganda. Then when there came another political change, it became to UBS. Then it changed names. So as it's changing names, but the station remained the same. Same thing, remains at the same place, either in Bugolobi or at Radio Uganda premises where you are seeing it now. But what all matters is what comes out of the station, the output. of the radio TV station. Then in 64, 63, then TV comes up. Then we had only one TV. Earlier on when you had radio, but the radio worked. I think the radio tried their level best, and they started off with English and Luganda programs first. Then later on, they brought in 5 other languages: Nyankoro, Ruchiga, Runyoro, Rutoro, Luo, Ateso, and from again up there, Lugbara, some of Western languages also came in. And as we got independence, other languages now also merged. Because now everybody, every tribe wanted their language to be broadcast on Radio Uganda. Why? Because we are saying that Radio Uganda was a national radio. And if it was a national radio, then definitely it should cater for all the ethnic languages of the people of Uganda on that station.
Okay, Haj, how was the broadcast those days over since 1954? Because right now when you look at most radios, most televisions, their most time is dedicated to entertainment other than infotainment. Yes.
You are right, you are right. As because, of course, as the society grows, maybe that's what we call development. I don't know. Because for me, I think the most important thing that you should be allotting time to would be educational programs and information programs. But these days, those are not money generating. Money generating are the commercial programs. Commercial programs where they center more is entertainment.
But how was it back then, when radio had just been invaded? How was it like? Were they, the broadcasts, were they giving much time to business information, or it was the same? No, entertainment took the most time.
What happened at that time? Entertainment was only given 15%. 15% of the airtime that was. And remember, even by the time they started with the radio and television, they were not running throughout the night or throughout the day. Television was starting between 6 and midnight, finished. And then radio was also running from early hours of 6 a.m. to midnight, and they closed down. Closed down for what? For frequency changing, and also for what do we call that one? Servicing, to service the equipment, because the equipment could heat up. And when they could heat up, definitely they need to rest, service them properly, so that by 6 o'clock, early in the morning, they start the programs up to 2 o'clock, relax, go to recess for about 1.5 hours, then 3, 4 o'clock, they resume transmission, and then that's how they were running up to midnight. In other words, they were also, and even if that was not the case, the programs that they were having that were not enough. What would you broadcast? You are not supposed to broadcast things which do not mean anything to the public. And
okay,
when
Haj, by the time radio came in Uganda, and then also 1963 we see TV coming in. How was the training of journalists? Because nowadays, almost just a few meters away, you find an institute teaching journalism. A few meters away, a university still training journalists. How was it back then?
Okay, there were 2 types of training. They are training what we call on-job training. Secondly, going for classes for training again. Going for classes, of course, meant that some of them were to go to some institutions which were prevalent at that time, training journalists, and particularly in UK, some in America, a few in Germany.
But could people afford?
Sorry?
Could people afford paying for themselves?
Well, they were training on how to present programs, ethics of broadcasting, ethics of journalism, acts of print media, the laws governing journalism for that matter, or the laws governing mass production or mass media. So they were all trained in those areas so that they could be conversant and so that they don't make mistakes or they don't do things which are contrary to either government programs or government policy or even maybe their own background, that is the ethics or the ethnical line where they come from. So you get the point. In other words, the program that they could do could not offend either the Wakabaka or the Bukama, the Bugabe, the Uchabazinga, the whatever it is. In other words, they were supposed always to broadcast programs which rhyme with the prevalent situation of that, be it political, social, or otherwise.
Okay, Haj. By then, 1963, a TV came in. It was only one television. Then also, there was still one radio station. But as of now, as we talk now, 60 years down, 59 years down the road with TV, we've seen many TV stations coming up. We've seen many radio stations coming up. But there is a problem. However much they are bridging the gap of unemployment in Uganda, but still the payment. How was it then? Haj, were you paid on time?
No, we are paid on time and good payment. We are getting good salaries or what we call allowances for that matter for those who are not in the established list. Because you see, for us who are working for the government media, we are being paid according to the government structure, depending on the education background one had. If one was of a school certificate, he had to fall in a certain category. If someone had HSC, certain category. Diploma or degree from institutions of higher learning, they'd get a certain amount of money, according to the qualifications one had. If someone did not have any of those qualifications, but he had a talent, because as he said, as we usually say, that journalism and broadcasting is a craft. It's just an inborn of somebody who can deliver the message, and he can write a message. Not all good writers, by the way, are university degree holders. They are not. But it's just a matter of having heart on how to construct, as long as you know how to read and write, you can put it up. And there are even those people who have even written books by them, who have never even gone to schools. But they say, this book was written by so-and-so. And they wrote it. Why? Because it was the origin of the information in those books. So what happened at that time, somebody could be employed, as I said, by the civil service or by private sector. Others who did not could write what we used to have what we call freelance. Freelance journalists were anybody who could write a good story or who could write something which is worth reading, and then it could be published. Or it could be recorded on the tapes for radio and television and could be broadcast. And soon after, he would get something. I remember, at that time, for someone to do a 15 minutes program, he would get 50 shillings. But 50 shillings was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. So there were some other people who used to write either stories or plays, playwrights, or whatever it is, and they would get that money. And it was always paid on cash. If sometimes they could take loan, would get a month when they were being processed to be paid by the checks. And the checks would be cashed at the Bank of Uganda or in their own banks.
Okay, Haj, how was the competition those days? Because as of now, you find that the more we've gone into privatization of media, the competition is very high. Yes.
Well, even at that time, the competition was not very high because people were not competing for any recognition. People at the moment, our friends in the media at the moment, are competing for recognition, for being known. That's why you see the words like celebs have come. This is a celebrity.
Haj, in your days, you were not a celebrity.
No.
You've just become a celebrity just now.
Why do they call you a celebrity?
Because you work on TV, you work on radio.
No. It was so normal for us to work on TV or on radio. Very, very normal. But of course, people may be holding you in high esteem here and there, but they could not show. And even if you would come, you'd attend a function, or whatever you attend, nobody would be there to highlight you or to over-amplify you on the occasion. No, it was, you are as if like a policeman who has come on duty. Who praises a policeman who has come on duty?
No one.
Somebody just looks at a policeman as a lawkeeper, and that's the end of it. And for you who have come, your recorder, or your pencil and your notebook, your pen and your notebook, somebody would say, oh, this is how are you? That's all. And there was an element of emphasizing, of amplifying. That's why, because of people trying to seek for those cheap popularity, you can hear somebody, even when they are presenting a program, somebody mentions the names of big people or personalities, this and that. Why? For recognition.
Seeking cheap popularity.
So that they may that he knows them. Also that the people think that he knows a lot of the...
Okay, lastly, when you look at, when you compare media of these days and media of those days, back then in 1963, 1954, where is the gap? Where aren't we performing well?
The gap, I think the biggest gap is in the two fields, in the field of entertainment and in the field of education. Educative programs which we have on media are not all that educative because they are also inclined to politics. You see, politics influences so many things sometimes.
Yes.
And sometimes if politics is not well directed, it may mislead the society and the country and cause chaos in countries. That's why you find or you see on other media stations of other countries, chaos, total chaos. I wish you saw what happened recently in one of the football matches in one of the countries where about 170 people were killed. It just started just like that. And when the thing was shown on television, even other people who had not joined that fighting also came to join the fighting. Through what? Through the media. The media now was if it was influencing other people to come and join the fighting. So that is very dangerous. In other words, we are supposed to use the media very, very, very careful. We are supposed to be very, very, our language, the way we use the word, the way we term ourselves, the way we present even the programs, and on top of that, what is behind each and every program, the motive of a program A, program B, program C.
Okay, Haj, how did media of those days generate money? Because these days it's through adverts. How about those days? Were there advertisers all?
The advertisers were there, and there were very, very many. But the only way that they could pick on where to advertise from would be the type of program one wants. If somebody is interested in what we call a cultural program, they would come to advertise in cultural programs. If one was interested in films, general films, like, let me give you an example. Somebody would want to advertise his advert for children, and he would focus more of which program children usually like. He would come into a program like Daktari. You know, Daktari was a very good program for children, particularly. People liked it. Of course, even BBCs liked it, but children liked it more because of the way that baboon was behaving in that film. Then if somebody was interested in more entertaining programs, one could say that let me now emphasize in Mind Your Language. You see how one focuses what he wants. If one thinks that people are now misusing the language, or they're abusing people, they're insulting people, they're this and that, one would choose a program like that one, Mind Your Language. If one would say that he's interested in politics, one would advertise in news. In news, particularly, he said, I want my advice soon after presidential stories. For presidential story, or if you're about to read a presidential story, you put my advert there. So that's how people at that time used to choose where to belong in adverts.
All right, Haj, it has been nice having you as a veteran journalist, and it has been nice you talking to us about the journey of media from back then in 1962, even before 1962, up to date. I'm really grateful.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot.
Thank you, thank you. We wish you happy celebrations.
All right.
Yes.
All right, it has been nice having you, our viewer. Thanks for keeping it smart to O4TV. This is the Coffee Court. My name is Monica Nabionga. Just a quick reminder, we are on GoTV, channel 394, and as well on DSTV, channel 372. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All right, many thanks for being part of Business Today, 4th of October 2022. We've been coming to you live from Plot 42, Nile Avenue. This is Smart 24 TV. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Buyins and Akauchi on the sign language. Have a blessed night. Till tomorrow, good evening.